So guys, welcome back to Kosi's Arsenal podcast. Welcome back to another video on the channel. My name is Kosi and we are going to be talking about Mikel Arteta's press conference. Thomas Partey, is he available for Benfica? Arsenal, probably the most important game in Arsenal's season right now. Put all things down, look ahead, look at this one. I think this is the most important of all games we are going to play between February and May. Smash the like button, get your subscriptions in, and tell me what you think about Benfica Arsenal. I'm going to be going down to Mikel Arteta's press conference. He's been speaking a lot of things, been speaking about so many things. Thomas Partey, Rob Holding is ruled out. He did talk about his relationship with Hector Bellerin. Of course, he was saying that so many things have changed between him and Hector Bellerin. Of course, so many reports talking about Hector Bellerin wanting to leave. We'll talk about that in a minute, or in a second, or in another video. It will depend, but of course he was speaking about Bellerin. He talked about Thomas Partey, and he said he was very close about to coming back and playing with Arsenal. So we're also going to be speaking about that and see how close is Thomas Partey, and how badly can he actually help this Arsenal side. Smash the like button. My name is Kosi, and let's get down to Mikel Arteta's press conference reaction as he went down, or as it went down yesterday. He was asked so many questions from many journalists, and of course here we go. He was asked about on whether Bukayo Saka is one of our most important players, and he did say that his form in recent months shows that he is very important player for us. I think he's getting better and better. His performance levels have been really consistent, so that makes him for sure one of the most important players in the recent months. And of course, for me, I think not even one of the most important players at Arsenal, but the most important player at Arsenal is Bukayo Saka. You can see what he gives the club. You can see how much impactful he is when he's playing for Arsenal in the colours of Arsenal. You can see that when Arsenal want to go forward, there is one player that has the ideas in his basket, and that is Bukayo Saka. The number of assists, he scored 4 goals this season in the Premier League, and he scored more goals than any other teenager in the Premier League. So I think we're lucky to have him this season. He is on fire. I don't know whether this is for one season, because he's really consistent, and that's one thing you don't find in teenagers. There are not so many teenagers that are that consistent. He's either going to give you one season, or 10 games, and then you find in the next 5 games he's off. But Saka has been that consistent, and that's one of the things I really like about him. On whether Saka's consistency is unusual for a young player, he did say that this is very unusual, but he is doing a lot of unusual things. He's dealing with things at his age in a very unusual way, but that's why he's showing what he is showing, because his maturity is above his age, and so his intelligence is above his age as well. And I think one of the things I really like about Saka, like I said, is his consistency. That kind of player that is reliable, that kind of player that comes onto the pitch game in, game out, and you expect the same result, and you get the same result. I don't think we have seen any consistent player at Arsenal this season better than Saka. Aubameyang has been consistent for the last 2 seasons. We do appreciate, but this season he has not been that consistent. Gabriel Magalhaes has not been that consistent. However much I think the beginning of the season was so triumphant and beautiful for him. Rob Holding has been a little bit consistent. I think he has been, but not so much as Saka. You find players like Granit Xhaka. He had a very bad start at the beginning of the season. Now he's flying. He's really flying. So I think Saka's consistency is very, very unusual, and all of us have to appreciate it. On how he sees the tie between Benfica and Arsenal, he said that I think it's different. The away goal is always important, but in this context, I don't think it's that relevant. We take the game like there is everything still to play for. It's the second half of the game, and we need to get there to try to win the game. Another thing, without fans, without being in our stadium, I think the game is very tricky, and that's very true. It's like we are playing 2 neutral games on 2 neutral grounds. It's like there is no home, there is no away. Yeah, you might have technically you might have that away goal and you might feel a little bit comfortable because you have it, but for me, I don't think Arsenal should be, jubilating, celebrating because of their away goal. It's easy to overturn Benfica. It's as easy as Benfica scoring in the first 10 minutes or in the first 20 minutes. And Arsenal can't concede. We do concede, and we always do concede. So I don't think that away goal is a big game, and it is a big deal. For me, I think it is still as tricky as Mikel Arteta thinks. He was also asked about. On the prospect of there being some fans for the Premier League at the end of the season. He said, "I cannot wait to have our fans back in the stadium. I think all the players and everyone at the club are desperate to have fans back at the Emirates Stadium because they make a huge difference. For me personally as well, because the energy they are able to create, the motivation they create, the passion they can show in the stadium for our players, I think is something we've been really missing. I said before, to feel part of something you are trying to do without sharing it with the people that really matter is very empty at the end. A lot of emotional parts are the beauty of this game. So hopefully we can get them back very, very soon. Of course, it was announced that in May we could see around 10,000 fans back in the stadiums, and that's gonna be beautiful. Some fans had started actually going to stadiums, but then another wave of the coronavirus actually kicked in the UK, and all that had suffered a setback. But now, Mikel Arteta, of course, says that it's going to be very beautiful when fans come back, and they actually could come back in May. We can't wait for that. On team news about Thomas Partey, he did say Thomas Partey is very close. He's got his final test today in training. He's feeling good. He'll be available to play the match. Regarding Rebolding, he said he's not available. He had a concussion. We tested him and he's completely fine. But obviously, we need to follow the protocols, and he won't be able to travel with us to play Benfica. So Thomas Partey is back, and I think he might not give him 90 minutes, but for me, I think he should give him around 60 minutes or around 65 minutes. The opening 65 minutes, he makes a huge difference. I think the way we battered the midfield of Benfica without Thomas Partey, now I just imagine when you have Partey and Xhaka in that midfield, it's going to be completely different. And I think it will give Martin Odegaard a lot of support as a creative midfielder, because Partey is literally or technically a box-to-box at Arsenal. He's going to carry that ball forward, and then he's also going to provide that kind of support that players like Joe McGinn provide to Jack Grealish, that kind of support that Martin Odegaard needs. And I think that is what is going to be very, very beautiful about Thomas Partey coming. But I also think he's also going to help us break down that midfield of Benfica, because they use a 4-4-2. They play with almost 6 or 5 midfielders, so that means their midfield is always compacted, and they have a lot of quality in there. They don't just put in numbers; they have quality. So if you're gonna match their quality and the numbers, then you'll actually need to have players like that are technically good, like Thomas Partey. On whether the Europa League is one of the routes to is our only route actually to the UEFA Champions League. Of course, that is talking about top 4 being far away. He did say, I think mathematically everything is possible. In football, you have to be so hard. You have to try so hard. We are going to do that in the league for sure. It's true that the Europa League gives you a completely different route, and it's a competition that we want to carry on playing and try to win it. Tomorrow is another game, another opportunity to try to step forward. The better we are in the Europa League, the better we are to be performing in the league, and vice versa. We need to be alive in both competitions. And for me, the truth is, technically, like he said, you have the mathematics in there, so you could actually become third or second in the league. You still have a couple of games to play, but the truth is Arsenal is not going to get top 4, and we know that. We are still losing games. We have lost more games this season than we have won, and we are still losing more games. I think we shall lose to Liverpool. I think we shall draw against Leicester City over the weekend, or actually lose to Leicester City. But the beauty about Europa League is we might not win it, but it's a competition that's going to keep our hopes and passion alive. You beat Benfica. You pray that at the round of 16 you get someone like maybe Bayer Leverkusen or Olympiacos, try to get past them, and then you get into the quarterfinals. You're going to have a Tottenham Hotspur or a Manchester United or an Inter Milan, and you might not actually go further than that. But dropping out at the round of 32, it would be very, very, very heartbreaking for Arsenal fans. And I think if Arsenal wants to go back to Champions League, which I do not want, because I know we are not ready, I don't want us to go there and be humiliated. We would rather actually not win the Europa League, but I think it's the only avenue if we want to go back to the UEFA Champions League. On if he has a special relationship with Hector Bellerin, just listen to this. He said, "If you asked me a few questions years ago, I would probably say if he is the way." He is. It's nice because we had really a strong relationship, and I tried to help him as much as I could. Now it's a different relationship. Obviously, when you know the person and you know the professional, it's easier to help them because you know how he feels, you know what he needs, and how to get the best out of him. It's true that that this season he's found much more consistency. He's been available in many more matches, and hopefully. He's now forgotten the last 2 years when injuries meant he wasn't able to play as much. Of course, there are rumors that Hector Bellerin could he actually not could, but he is very open to a move away from the Emirates Stadium, and that's why he's being asked these questions. On if that means he can no longer be a friend to Hector. He said it's a very tricky one. You can't change your feelings towards somebody, but then you have to be fair. You have always to be really demanding as well, and it has to be a space that has to be shared and lived in different way between a player and a manager. It doesn't mean that your feelings are different towards the person. On if his place is under threat by Cedric, he did say, I think everybody needs to compete with each other. I think Cedric has done really well. We've got Callum Chambers now that has been training really well in the last 3 or 4 weeks as well, and looks completely ready to step in. So everybody has to play at their level best, and we are going to have to rotate players as well with the amount of games coming in thick and fast. On if Hector will start against Benfica, he said, I don't know. I'll decide on the lineup or on if the game is the biggest in the season. Of course, this was asked by Charles Watts, my best journalist for Arsenal. He did say it's a big season and really important mentally and confidence-wise. It's going to dictate if we are in another competition or not for a few more weeks. This is really what we need. It's really a tough opponent. It's a Champions League team who have been playing in these types of games for many years with a manager with a huge experience. For us tomorrow is like a final. On if the pressure is on him ahead of the game, he says, I always feel that it is on me, the pressure. Every time you're playing in a competition and you can go out, you know the consequences. And with this club, the aim is always to win every competition that you're in. So that doesn't really change a lot. Of course, I think that's a lie. I don't think Arsenal is fighting to win every competition they are in. Otherwise, we would be spending. On Jamie Redknapp's comments on Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, of course, Redknapp did come out and judge Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang like, he's washed, he's over and finished. And of course, Arteta did say that, of course, I didn't see those comments. I've heard about them. I'm here to support every single player, and that is what I try to do all the time. I try to give them the best possible advice, and when they have a difficult moment, stay right behind them, and that's what we try to do always. On if Aubameyang can respond on the pitch, he says, I think the best way to talk is always on the pitch. 7 days before, when he scored a hat-trick, and he could have scored 4 or 5 against Leeds, he was again the main man. He could have scored a hat-trick against Benfica easily with his qualities, and it would have been different. At the end of the day, it's about putting the ball in the back of the net for him, and that's how he gets his joy. On whether he enjoys the big games, where everything is on the line, he says this is why we are here. When you play in these competitions and these games, finals too, it's the pressure that you want. It's much better to have the pressure to win than the pressure to lose. It's really enjoyable. I really enjoy the pressure of winning and to be here and to represent the club. You have to be prepared and to do that. If not, you do not belong here. Of course, he did talk about on his admiration, on Eusebio. He did talk about on whether he can remember playing against Adel Tarabat, and a couple of questions. You could see the boys there training against ahead of the game of Benfica. So I think this is going to be a very important game, and us know, Mikel Arteta knows this. He's been talking about so many things, about the game. I think it's a game we have to win. We have to go with a winning mentality. Yeah, a nil or draw takes us through, but you don't want to play for a 0-0. I mean, what if you concede in the 90th minute? Then things are different. Things have changed. So I think one thing we need to do is go out there, try to beat Benfica in all ways possible. Smash the like button on this video, and I'll speak to you in the next one.